I want to share something that I found interesting here in Acts 9, where Saul, who was later named Paul, this is when he first meets Jesus, basically. So he was on his way to Damascus to try to imprison men or women who believed in Jesus. And he was breathing out threats and slaughter against the disciples. And then a light from heaven, Jesus, shined about him. And Saul fell to the earth. And Jesus said to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" And he said, Who are you, Lord?" And Jesus said, "I am Jesus, whom you persecute. It is hard for you to kick against the pricks." And he, trembling and astonished, said, "Lord, what will you have me to do?" And the Lord said unto him, "Arise and go into the city, and it shall be told you what you must do." And then he was blinded. So here, and he was 3 days without sight. He was blinded by Jesus, and he didn't eat or drink. So that blindness, to me, represents his spiritual blindness before he actually had this encounter with Jesus. And these 3 days represent his death to the old man, his death with Christ, that he was crucified with Christ. And then he goes to the disciple Ananias, where he receives his sight again after Ananias puts his hands on him, right? He receives his sight and is filled with the Holy Ghost. And it says that immediately there fell from his eyes scales, and he received sight and arose and was baptized. So he basically, his spiritual blindness was taken away, and he was resurrected with Christ. He was made new. He was baptized in the Holy Ghost. And he now could live in that newness of life. Like, you know how it talks in Romans 6, where it says that, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? And like, it says that we were buried with Christ in baptism, and so that we may walk in the newness of life. So to me, this 3 days where Paul was blind is like the same as like when Jesus died. 3 days passed, and then he resurrected, right? So in the same way, like Paul, this is kind of like symbolic, it's this represents resurrection. When his scales fell off, like his spiritual blindness was taken away, and it represents that, like the taking away of his spiritual blindness, because the devil blinds people spiritually. But Jesus takes the scales away and helps us see the truth, the spiritual truth, which is himself. He reveals himself to us, and that's what he did with Paul.